There are stars, and then there are phenomena. Names that don't just echo through stadiums but spill into the streets, the tabloids, the private jet terminals, the gated estates, and the quiet rooms where the world's elite make decisions. And in that rare space where wealth, fame, and legacy collide stands one young man who isn't just rewriting football's history, but reshaping what it means to be a global superstar in the 21st century. His name is Kylian Mbappé, and the truth about how rich he really is goes far beyond contracts, trophies, or the glittering lights of Madrid. When you talk about Mbappé, you're not talking about a player. You're talking about a brand, an empire, a generational force wrapped in the body of a 26-year-old who runs faster than most people can think. You're talking about a net worth whispered in boardrooms, debated online, and speculated across the world but never truly understood. Because while everyone knows he's wealthy, very few know the depth, the structure, the reach of what he's quietly built. And once you follow the money, the lifestyle, the networks, and the future he's constructing in Madrid, you begin to realize something: Mbappé isn't just getting rich. He's preparing to become one of the most influential athletes of the century. It begins with the moment he landed in Madrid. Not the airport greeting he gave the cameras. Not the smiling handshake with the president. Not even the unveiling at the Bernabeu. No, his real arrival happened long before any of that. It happened behind closed doors, during a negotiation that broke the traditional football economy and made players sit up from their chairs. His Madrid deal wasn't a contract. It was a declaration, a blueprint of how modern superstars would reshape power in sports. Reports of €35 million per season were just the surface. The signing bonus, nearly €150 million, made headlines, but even that wasn't the full picture. Hidden beneath were clauses for image rights, global marketing expansion, and a personal brand architecture Real Madrid agreed to help build. This wasn't salary, it was equity in his own future. From the outside, the move looked like a victory lap, a young king joining the greatest football club in history. But from the inside, the deal was something else. It was Mbappé positioning himself to step into the global luxury arena, where athletes don't just play, they rule. And the first glimpse of that came the moment he stepped into his new home in Madrid. On a quiet hilltop overlooking La Moraleja, hidden behind tall hedges and biometric gates, lies Mbappé's private estate. It isn't loud, it isn't flashy, it isn't the kind of property designed for Instagram flexes. It's designed for privacy, for control, for peace. The mansion sprawls across several thousand square meters, modern, minimalist, with glass walls that disappear into the landscape. Inside, you find floors of white stone imported from Italy, an indoor pool with chromotherapy lighting, a cinema room larger than some European apartments, and a training wing equipped with altitude chambers, cryotherapy pods, hydrotherapy pools, and technologies usually reserved for high-performance Olympic centers. This is where you begin to understand how Mbappé thinks. Wealth, to him, isn't for noise, it's for structure. Every room in his Madrid home reflects a part of his identity: the athlete, the businessman, the dreamer, the strategist. His bedroom overlooks the entire city because he likes waking up knowing Madrid sits at his feet. His library is filled with biographies of African leaders, entrepreneurs, thinkers, artists. His art collection includes pieces by rising African painters he personally invests in, displayed next to rare European sculptures. Then there's the trophy room, not for the public, not for show, but for him alone. A personal reminder of the battles he fought and the empire he's building. But the house is just one small window into Mbappé's true wealth. Because if you want to understand how rich he really is, you must follow him outside to the parts of his life most people never see. He moves through Madrid with a quiet confidence, slipping into a blacked-out Mercedes Maybach GLS, the kind that feels less like a car and more like a rolling sanctuary. When he wants speed, he switches to his Ferrari 812 Superfast, one of the few indulgences he allows himself. But cars aren't his obsession. Impact is. Real wealth, to Mbappé, is what lasts, and that is why he built the Mbappé Foundation, one of the most ambitious youth empowerment projects launched by any athlete in Europe. The foundation isn't just handing out scholarships or building community centers. It's a pipeline, a system, a platform designed to find talent in forgotten neighborhoods and elevate them into worlds they once thought were locked away. Academics, sports, arts, tech. If a young person has potential, he wants to open the door. This is where his money goes quietly, not into chains, not into watches, though he owns a carefully curated collection of Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet pieces that appreciate in value, not into unnecessary extravagance, but into influence, into legacy, into creating generational change for kids who look like him, dream like him, and fight like he once did. But don't let the modesty fool you. Mbappé's lifestyle is still one of the most enviable on the planet. When he travels, it's rarely commercial. He steps onto private jets, chartered through exclusive European aviation clubs, Learjets, Gulfstreams, long-range Falcons, depending on the distance and the privacy required. When he vacations, he selects islands, not cities. When he arrives at events, he doesn't walk in. He enters asterisk. Whether it's Cannes, Monaco, Dubai, New York, Lagos, or Tokyo, he is never just another celebrity. He is the main attraction. And then you begin to see something deeper. Mbappe's wealth. Isn't loud because it doesn't need to be. The businesses he invests in, the partnerships he shapes, the global marketing deals with Nike, Dior, Hublot, EA Sports. These aren't endorsements. They're alliances. Strategic alignments with the world's most powerful brands, negotiated so that he controls his image, his narrative, and his legacy. In Madrid, he lives like what he is. The most marketable footballer of his generation, a young mogul with global reach, and a future billionaire in the making. But this is only the beginning. Because the money you see, the contracts, the houses, the cars is just the shell. The real story of his wealth lies in the empire he's building behind the scenes. The one only a handful of people have ever witnessed. And that empire is about to change everything. Wealth has levels, and once you cross a certain point, it stops being about how much money you make and starts becoming about the worlds you can access. The doors that open, the rooms you get invited into, the conversations you're suddenly allowed to hear. And for Kylian Mbappé, Madrid didn't just give him a new club, it gave him a new stage, a global stage, a playground for power where every handshake matters, every dinner carries weight, and every quiet meeting can change his future. Madrid is a city built on legacy. Old money, royal families, real estate dynasties, media giants, global CEOs, the people who shape Europe's financial bloodstream. And when Mbappé arrived, he didn't slip into that world. He was welcomed, because true power recognizes the next generation of influence, and they saw it in him instantly. At 26, he wasn't just a superstar athlete, he was a cultural force, a magnet, a brand with gravitational pull. And Madrid's elite realized something. Aligning with Mbappé wasn't just fashionable. It was strategic. He attends private dinners in La Castellana, where billionaires talk quietly about new tech investments and global expansions. He walks into boardrooms where luxury brands pitch partnerships years in the making. He steps into art galleries where pieces are sold before the public knows they exist, and where collectors whisper about future icons. Mbappé doesn't always speak, but he always listens. Because he knows something most athletes don't. Money is a tool, but information is the real currency. His circle in Madrid is carefully curated. Entrepreneurs, athletes, artists, investors, and a small group of advisors who understand his ambition. Not to live like the rich, but to think like them, to move like them, to build like them. And that's why his wealth is growing in ways the public never sees. Behind the scenes, Mbappé has equity in rising tech startups across Europe and Africa. Companies working on AI fintech solutions, clean energy, digital sports platforms, and youth education technologies. He doesn't boast about it. He doesn't flash it on social media, but his fingerprints are on projects that many believe will shape the next decade. And his investment strategy is simple. Minority stakes in companies with massive growth potential. He plants seeds. He watches them rise. Then there's his media empire, the one almost no one talks about. Mbappé quietly launched content companies that produce documentaries, miniseries, and original creative projects. Some focus on football, others on African culture, others on rising youth talent across Europe. And while fans only see the polished final products, industry insiders know the truth. Mbappé is preparing for life after football, long before retirement even whispers his name. But his financial empire isn't the only part of his story. His lifestyle in Madrid reveals a man who has mastered balance, luxury, without losing his soul. On most mornings, he wakes before the sun. His training setup at home rivals that of elite clubs. An altitude chamber for cardio, a cryotherapy pod for recovery, private chefs preparing meals built around performance science, anti-inflammatory foods, tailored macros, hydration schedules, and supplements designed by world-class nutritionists. His discipline is not for Instagram, it's instinctive. It's the engine behind everything he is building. After training, he likes silence. He walks through the open spaces of his home barefoot, feeling the cold stone of the floor, thinking through decisions he never announces publicly. Which partnership to sign next? Which foundation project to fund? Which investment to review? Which young player he wants to mentor quietly? Mbappé's greatest luxury is control over his time, his environment, his image, his future. But make no mistake, he enjoys the pleasures that come with his wealth. His wardrobe alone is a statement. Dior, Louis Vuitton, Balmain, Amiri, Casablanca, Fear of God, clean, sharp, modern. Each outfit chosen with purpose, not loud, not desperate, just powerful. He wears watches like investments. Patek, Philippe, Nautilus, AP, Royal Oak, Rolex, Daytona, each one purchased, not for show, but for long-term value. And while he could own 20 supercars, he keeps only a select few. The Ferrari 812 Superfast, the Mercedes G63 AMG, the BMW XM, and his Maybach GLS. This is the Mbappe-style luxury with intention. Travel is where the full picture becomes clear. When Mbappe flies, he flies on long-range private jets, Gulfstream G700s, Bombardier Globals, Dassault Falcons. For vanity, for privacy, for safety, for efficiency. With him always, his inner circle, his advisors, his brother Ethan. A small team who works on his business projects while he rests or studies game footage. On those flights, you understand something essential about Mbappe. He is always working, always learning, always preparing. Because in his mind, greatness is not a moment, it's a lifestyle. Then there are the vacations, rare but unforgettable. Summers in the Bahamas, private villas in the Maldives, hidden estates in Marrakesh, exclusive chalets in Switzerland. Not the influencer lifestyle, not the celebrity circus. Quiet escapes, designed to recharge his spirit and reconnect him with the version of himself he protects the most. The child from Bondi who still remembers what it felt like to dream. People ask, how rich is he? Really? And the truth is deeper than numbers. Mbappe is rich in ways money can't define. He's rich in access, rich in influence, rich in possibility, rich in legacy. But if we talk numbers, the numbers the world never sees, the picture becomes staggering. Most estimates place his net worth around €180, 200 million euros. But insiders know that figure is far too low. His Madrid salary structure, image rights percentages, global endorsements, hidden bonuses, long-term brand equity, real estate holdings, investments, and multimedia ventures push the true number far closer to €300, 350 million euros. And he's not even 30. But the most shocking part of his wealth. It is not what he has today, it is the pace at which it is growing. Economists predict that if he maintains his current trajectory, Mbappe could become the first footballer in history to surpass the billionaire mark while still playing. Not after retirement, not through outside businesses, but purely through the combined architecture of his salary, endorsements, and brand empire. Yet, for all the power, all the access, all the opulence, the world often forgets what drives him. Not fame, not attention, not greed, but purpose. A purpose shaped by his childhood in Bondi, by the stories his parents told him, by the values he carries from his roots. He knows what it means to come from the bottom, and he knows what it means to stay grounded while standing at the top of the world. This is why, even with unimaginable wealth, he remains one of the most private superstars of the modern era. Because while the world is obsessed with his lifestyle, Mbappe is obsessed with his legacy. He isn't trying to be rich for today. He's building something for decades to come, something that will live long after the cheers fade, after the trophies settle, after the stadium lights switch off, something that transforms him from a football icon into a global titan. And the final chapter of his wealth, the one even his closest friends only whisper about, is just beginning. The true measure of wealth isn't found in the numbers written on a contract or the digits in a bank account. It's found in the impact a person creates, the power they hold, and the future they build. And as the story of Kylian Mbappe enters its next chapter, it becomes clear that his wealth is not a destination, it's a tool, a force, a responsibility he carries with the same seriousness he brings to the pitch. Because Mbappe knows something most athletes never realize until it's too late. Money is temporary, but legacy is forever. And that's why everything he is constructing goes far beyond Madrid. His empire extends across continents into Africa, Europe, North America, the Middle East, forming a global network that positions him not just as a superstar athlete, but as a rising cultural leader. One of the most powerful pieces of that empire is his influence in Africa. Mbappe has deep roots in Cameroon and Algeria, and over the years, he has quietly strengthened his presence across the continent. Not through flashy charity projects, but through strategic investments in long-term development programs. In Cameroon, he funds sports academies and education centers that help young kids access opportunities far beyond football. In Algeria, he sponsors scholarship programs and health initiatives aimed at empowering young women and underprivileged families. These aren't PR moves, they reseeds. He plants with a vision only he can see, seeds that will grow into a global legacy of upliftment and empowerment. But perhaps the most sophisticated part of Mbappe's wealth strategy is his move into ownership. While most athletes settle for endorsement deals, Mbappe has been quietly negotiating pathways to equity. In tech, in fashion, in entertainment, in sports. Insiders whisper that he is exploring ownership stakes in football clubs, media companies, lifestyle brands, and even production studios. Not because he wants to diversify, but because he wants to influence culture, influence markets, influence narratives. He knows that real wealth comes from owning the table, not just being invited to sit at it. And nowhere is that clearer than in his relationship with the fashion world. His partnership with Dior, one of the most powerful alliances in luxury fashion, is not just an endorsement. It's a door into a world where athletes aren't just models, but taste. Mbappe attends private showings of unreleased collections, collaborates with designers on custom pieces, and maintains direct relationships with creative directors who see him not as a billboard, but as a cultural icon. His style, minimalist, sharp, intentional, is shaping modern sports fashion in a way few athletes ever have. Then there's his media presence. While fans talk about goals, dribbles, and trophies, Mbappe understands something deeper. Media is modern royalty, and that's why he invests heavily in controlling his narrative. His personal team includes filmmakers, strategists, digital architects, and communication consultants who craft his image with precision. Every interview, every documentary, every social media post is part of a larger plan, a narrative arc designed to solidify his influence far beyond football. And yet, for all the sophistication, all the strategy, Mbappe remains deeply grounded. His closest friends say he hasn't changed. He still jokes like the kid from Bondi, still eats his favorite dishes on quiet nights with family, still plays video games with Ethan until late, still calls his parents for advice the way he always has. His mother remains one of his most trusted advisors, a strategist with a sharp mind who understands contracts and negotiations better than many executives. His father is still the anchor of his discipline. His siblings remain his safe place in a world where fame is a double-edged sword. But if you really want to understand the scope of his wealth, you must look at the future he's building. Mbappe is planning for a post-football life that could easily surpass everything he has earned on the pitch. He wants to run companies, launch film studios, create global sports academies, build real estate empires, expand his philanthropic network into a global foundation that spans continents. And perhaps most importantly, he wants to become a symbol of African excellence on the world stage, not a football icon, a generational icon. He studies the business blueprints of LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Jay-Z, Cristiano Ronaldo, but he is not copying them. He is evolving them, modernizing them, creating a hybrid model built on culture, youth empowerment, media ownership, and global brand dominance. And because he started so young, and because he built such a massive empire so early, he has decades to perfect his strategy. Financial analysts who follow his career closely believe that Mbappe's earning potential could exceed €1.20 to 1.5 billion euros over the next 2 decades, when combining salary, bonuses, endorsements, ownership stakes, and brand expansions. And that estimate doesn't even include long-term compound wealth generated through private investments and real estate. But the numbers tell only half the story. The other half lives in the intangible, the influence, the magnetism, the global presence that makes Mbappe valuable in ways money can't fully measure. He is the child who grew up idolizing heroes and became one. The dreamer who wanted to play at the highest level and went beyond it. The star who captured the world's attention and is now capturing its future. His life in Madrid reflects that duality, the quiet mansion, the high-tech training rooms, the nightly skyline views that remind him of how far he has come and how far he still intends to go. On some nights he stands on his balcony overlooking the lights of the city, thinking about the next 10 years, the next 50, the world he wants to build long after the goals stop, the lives he wants to impact, the legacy he hopes will outlive him. And that is the truth most people miss when they ask how rich Kylian Mbappé really is. They think of money, cars, houses, contracts, but his true wealth is far more powerful. His wealth is in his vision, his work ethic, his discipline, his global influence, his cultural footprint, his foundation, his investments, his voice, his future. Mbappe is not just rich, he is becoming one of the most strategically powerful athletes of the modern era. A blueprint for the next generation, a symbol of possibility. A young man designing a global empire brick by brick, decision by decision, year by year. He is living in Madrid, but his world is everywhere. And as his story continues to unfold, one thing becomes certain. The question isn't how rich he is today. The real question is how powerful he will become tomorrow. Because Kylian Mbappe is not done rising. He's only just begun.